What's up? It's your boy Kevin to turn on this motherfucking YouTube shit. Wow, what the
fuck? What's up? It's your boy Kevin turn on YouTube shit. Hey man, we are Livin. Let me cheese man, turn. Take the motherfucker day. Shit hooding outside. Big crip in the gang. Shit hooding outside. Shit, man. Free Palestine, free Congo, Russia do your thing, and Texas stand the fuck up. Each day is a new day to be a better version of yourself. Never let somebody bring that all stuff back. Never let somebody tell you who you are, but also never put yourself in a position you don't belong. Let's stay humble. Let's get on a revolution, on the movement. Keep Yahweh first. Come to the Black Hebrew Israelite as a real Jew. We out here. Alright. Boom. Today, to motherfucker day. Shit hooding outside. Big crip in the gang. Shit hooding outside shit, man. Gang. Gang, go. Turn up. Hey, man. I don't know what it is, man. People love gambling. People love gambling. When it comes to the NBA, NFL, niggas making a lot of money on, niggas love gambling. And this is the thing, bruh. A lot of time, man, you wonder, like, damn, bruh, this shit shouldn't be a crime. Cause all these white collar motherfuckers doing the same motherfucking thing, and you get what I'm saying? But at the same time, bruh, this is like, hey, these niggas making them Eminem multi-millions. You get what I'm saying? And like, crip. Sometimes that shit can backfire, bruh. A lot of times. Gilbert Arenas. One thing about Gilbert Arenas' situation, he not even in the NBA. I don't even think he have no NBA like dealings. He got his own shit, so he don't have to worry about no Shannon Sharp shit. He good, but they try to say he might be on a Rico type shit. Bitch, this shit getting tough, bitch. So he indictment. They trying to hit that nigga with hit that with a my bar. So hey, we got the video, bro. It gonna break down, and they even trying to throw a body. Like, bruh, this shit getting tough. Let's get in this bitch. Shout out to the family. Ex-NBA star strangely connected to you know what I'm saying, a body, illegal gambling, and more, bro. This shit, man, Gilbert Arenas, bro, this shit is getting wild in a bitch. You know, there's a lot of shit that's been going on in the NBA that people don't talk about. But hey, I hope y'all enjoying these videos. Let's get into it.
Nobody wins when the family feels. But
I think if I owed someone some money, I think I'll pay it up.
Yeah, you're a good poker player, right?
Yes.
Just having
No, I play poker on my phone or on my computer. It's just DVD. You know, I'm playing against the computer, so you know, if I lose, I just reset the game.
Those Raiders presented by Underdog.
And when you're a multi-millionaire, shit, it reset that bitch how many? Up 10 times.
For what we do right now in the media, and to have somebody his caliber come on here and talk.
Let's move on to Swaggy P.
The very first time I smoked, the resource like honey or syrup or something on the blunt to make it burn slower. I was 18. I didn't know no better.
Better time, ladies and gentlemen.
That shit lasted forever, and I was super high. I think I went to sleep while they were still smoking it.
Kind of like Moon Rock.
Yeah.
Slow down the burn.
Yeah. Nothing no rock.
Gas, bitch.
No rock.
You was conceived.
That nigga swagging like he on that bitch 34/7. I know why he look Cali here.
Has emerged that could lead to some new clues about a missing Culver City mom, Heidi Plank. The new video shows her walking her dog in an alley in downtown LA several hours after her friends saw her in Downey.
This surveillance video released by a resident
That dog didn't do a damn
shows
thing,
39-year-old
bitch.
Heidi Plank walking her dog in an alley behind the Hope and Flower building around 6:30 the night of October
You think that
17th.
bitch got
NBA
sold
star
to
Gilbert
Chinese?
Arenas has been arrested and is now facing federal charges for allegedly running an illegal gambling ring out of his San Fernando Valley home.
A Wizards player is accused of renting out his Encino mansion on Gable Drive for the illegal games, which were allegedly
Man, them
hosted by
rich, wealthy white men do it.
court documents.
But they got
Arenas
the
texted
papers, head
one of
ass.
his co-conspirators
Nigga,
this
they making
picture of a poker
multi-billions
table
off of niggas.
in connection
nigga.
to the games.
You better not.
Damn.
They can't hold me. Hello.
From NBA All-Star Federal Courtroom, a man that's once known as Agent Zero on the court has now been identified as Agent Zero by the feds, linked to organized crime, illegal gambling, and strangely tied to the disappearance of a young mom who was last seen gambling at an event hosted by one of his co-defendants. Now, the strange part is the timing about all this. This comes just weeks after a federal judge had dismissed a civil lawsuit involving a mysterious incident inside his Encino home. The feds came knocking again, this time with an indictment. But this wasn't just about cars and
all the
cash.
rich people
One
go
of his
over to like
co-defendants is a suspected
a different country
Israel
got lit.
monster. Now keep in mind, this is a man
And
who
fucked
some
up
DC
shit was
residents
going
will
on.
tell you that was the Wizards' best player. Gilbert had
Mike
just bounced
Tyson
back.
was in
He
it.
made a name for himself in media, went viral for podcasting, and was winning with his kids. His son even committed to USC. But now, the spotlight has shifted from the studio to the courtroom. And trust me, this mansion isn't just where they were playing poker. It might be where the game turned
Damn,
in. So
man,
today,
these mansions
we'll go
be
with
big
Gilbert
as
Arenas,
fuck,
his rise to
nigga.
fame, his recent endeavors,
I'm telling
recent
y'all,
lawsuit,
nigga.
and the recent indictment and his response.
Like, if you get caught hiding some shit in these big ass mansions, nigga, you not doing it right. You know his secret passages probably got in that bitch?
Like, comment,
What the
and
fuck?
subscribe. We'll jump right to it. Gilbert Arenas entered the NBA in 2001 with something to prove. A second-round pick who quickly became a third-time All-Star. Some considered the king of clutch buckets. They called him Agent Zero, the man who turned doubters
Nigga was
into
goated.
believers. Once
No
living
cap.
inside a car at a local park with his dad.
We always ask our guests what their biggest pivot is. That's that one moment in your life that without that happening, you wouldn't be who you are today. Probably Sherman Oaks Park. My dad was sitting on the bench trying to figure out what his next move is. And a lady walked up to him and said, "Is that your son?" And he's like, "Yeah." She was like, "He's a very happy kid. You guys been at the park? You guys sleeping here?" And he was like, "Yeah, just trying to figure out how to get like $1,200. I already have a job. A guy's gonna help me work the building, like maintenance." And he said, "I just need $1,200 to secure the room." And she was like, "Is this a real thing?"
I've been in a situation like that,
the person's
bro.
number. So they
Where
called the guy, and he's like, "Yeah,
a lady was
get the
gonna
down
give me
payment.
some money
I
on
can put him in, and he has a job. It's just the
and
down
some
payment."
food.
And she was like, "Okay,
No,
as soon as I get
down
home,
bad.
I'll
Good white lady,
whatever,
crazy.
give you the money." And the lady gave him the money, and that's how we got into our first apartment. Wow. And then from there, the stable life is, what everybody needs sometimes. So I would say that would be the pivot moment of my life, because if not, I would have been in Florida, probably been a football player. Mike Williams was my best friend when I was growing up. Really? Mm-hmm. Our grandmas lived right across the street from each other, so that was the guy I played with. So we was football, baseball.
Gilbert Arenas was special, but his biggest play wouldn't be on the court. It would be in 2009. He bought a firearm in the Wizards' locker room during a gambling dispute with teammates Jarvis Crinton. The moment changed his career forever.
Nigga, you know how hard it is not to be a gambler when you making M&Ms?
Now, apparently, the conflict stemmed from a card game on a team plane where Arenas and Crinton were reportedly arguing over gambling debt. Arenas brought the unloaded guns to the locker room, and Crinton reportedly bought a loaded gun as well. Ironically enough, gambling was involved. The incident led to suspension from both players by the NBA commissioner, David Stern. May he rest in peace. Arenas was suspended for the remainder of the season and later served a 50-game suspension. Crinton was also suspended for the remainder of the season. Both players' careers were significantly impacted.
Then it's all like them niggas, you know how them niggas be betting on the NBA
Arenas'
games?
performance declined, and he eventually
You know what I'm saying? But
2011-2012 season.
Everything is rigged.
Both players face legal consequences.
I think the only reason they do this shit is because they ain't got their hand in it. Crip. If these white millionaires, crackers,
Gilbert Arenas once talked
didn't
about
have
this
their
on
hands
as he mentioned he had to spend 30
in
days
their
in a
shit,
halfway
you know what I'm
house,
saying?
2 years of probation. Why he felt like his punishment was unfair.
If they had
Before I
their
let you
hands in
hear
that
this
shit,
response,
Gilbert
I
Arenas
ended
be
up coming
alright.
across a clip, and I want you guys to check out. It's less than 60 seconds. It's basically Gilbert
They probably
being
did.
asked in 2009 about the gun incident alongside a poker match. Which, crazy enough, 16 years later, he's accused of running an illegal poker gambling spot at his LA home. And most would think, from the eye looking in and not knowing the details, somebody lost money and end up telling on Gilbert Arenas, which might be true, but it led to a whole lot more.
Phil waiting outside, waiting for me to pull up.
But it led to a whole lot more.
Well, I think if I owed someone some money, I think I'll pay it up.
Yeah, you're a good poker player, though, right?
Yes.
Does this have anything to do with that?
No, I play poker on my phone or on my computer. It's just a DVD. I'm playing against the computer, so, if I lose, I just reset the game.
You just treat hoops for money, right?
Huh?
Basketball for money.
Bro, poker?
No, I don't gamble.
Dice.
Online, I don't do any of that.
You know what I'm saying? Shit like that is some of the most dangerous shit. Cards. It's all dangerous, nigga.
Suspended
We could kill you over
indefinitely
$5.
without pay until the investigation was
You know what I'm
complete.
saying?
And then,
Okay.
you were charged.
Correct. They can kill you over back in
January
the
15th to the felony of carrying an unlicensed pistol outside of home or business. Well, you and Clinton were both suspended for the rest of the season.
Man, Vlad is the Fed.
You wrote a letter to the Washington
I know he
Post
think like this
apologizing,
fat-ass nigga.
because you let the kids down. And on March of that year, you got convicted, and you got 2 years probation and 30 days in a halfway house, which they're saying is a little bit unfair.
Unfair? Yeah, I know.
In terms of
Fuck yeah, that was unfair. Fucking 2 years probation and fucking 30 days in a halfway house, and the only thing I did was claim that they're mine.
Right.
I just said they were mine. I didn't say I fucking booked them shits.
Right, because Creighton received a year of unsupervised probation, and then if you compare it to, like, for example, Delonte West, who was caught with a whole bunch of guns, just had 8 months of home detention, 2 months of unsupervised probation, 40 hours community service. So, but you actually ended up at a damn halfway house
Because of this. The story was so big, right? The story's so big.
It ballooned.
Yeah, it's so big. Because this was the conversation I had with Stern. What are you actually suspending me for? I said, what are you suspending me for? And I wrote down, I've researched every gun violation in the NBA. I said, you had Telfair, he had a loaded gun on the plane, 3 games. Telfair, loaded gun on the bus. And I said, that's a loaded gun, 3 games. I said, Steven Jackson shot his gun. Mind you, it's not on NBA property, but I can guarantee you that if we had to say which one is worse, unloaded guns is far. I'd rather have unloaded guns in a locker room versus someone actually shooting a gun.
You really don't want to speak on either one of them.
Did Jason
None of them,
Williams
to
get
be
caught
honest.
shooting a gun in like
Sure.
arena parking lot or something like that? Or
I get where he's coming from.
I think he shot like his driver.
No, that came later on.
You niggas gonna stay on shit 3, man.
Gun shit. Like, Jason Williams had a thing for guns.
So I was like, so I said, the most you can suspend me is for claiming something? 1 game? And I said, because at the end of the day, all I have to say is, those are not my guns. They're not mine. How are you going to prove they are?
But you already said they're yours.
Yeah, I can return it. Y'all calling me a liar, so I can say they're not mine. You're not gonna have any. There's not gonna be any fingerprints of mine on there. Yeah. So, and then so I was like, so what are you gonna spend? I said, I'll take 1 game, 2 games. No, I'm not taking 2 games. And that was my stance when I went to go talk to Stern.
Right, but it didn't work out that way though.
Because they suspended me for detrimental mental. So that's how they got away with it. Because they couldn't suspend me for a gun because what am I violating? Because I didn't touch anything.
Yeah.
I said they were mine.
Right, but it became a media circus at that point. You actually had an Adidas shoe deal.
Yeah.
Bill Zero ended up dropping you.
Yep.
Man, you get hit with one
That's part of my contract.
type of.
Exactly.
To a felony.
Exactly. I guess after that, you
back
end up
in
wearing,
them days,
Dolce & Gabbana shoes.
well, they'll try to take everything away from you.
You just
I just wore all the shoes I've ever collected.
Basically.
white people, they do whatever the fuck they want to do. White
And you know, like rappers are name dropping you songs. Rick Ross,
Black man get hit with a gun or
got the
but they
Gats,
try to
Gilbert
ruin your
Arenas,
whole career.
2 Chainz, and Patron Margaritas,
Like,
Double
it's tough
Jay.
now,
Jay-Z
but
was
shit.
first. Bring all my guns to work,
Everybody used
Gilbert
to it,
Arenas.
but
After
shit.
falling from the
Shit,
greats in
nigga.
the league, Gilbert reinvented himself online. His sports takes were bold. His storytelling was unmatched. He became a podcast star, dropping gems, controversy, and wisdom. Meanwhile, his son making headlines of his own. A basketball prodigy, recruited by USC, then came a devastating car crash and a freak injury at school pushed back his freshman season. But Gilbert stood by him, sharing the struggle and the recovery online on his hot platform, Gil's Arena. It looked like things were finally falling back in place for Gilbert Arenas and his legacy.
Much. Like, he was fine, and he was hurt the next. He was doing bleacher work, and he said he was running the bleachers trying to get in shape for an hour. And he must have irritated on the bleachers. These 4, 5, 6 months, he should learn how to sit down, rest, listen to his body, understand that as much training you do, you gotta recover. He realized he got that part of the gene that just wants to work. And he has to understand you can't work out 4, 5 times a day. You like school and all that. He ain't trying to, like with me, I told him, nigga, I didn't go to school. You know what I mean? I trained. Back in my days, school was for fools. You should know, everybody who got a A on the team, they didn't make it. They went to study hall. I went to the gym. I had an 0.2 and an 0.3. If I go back to school, goddamn it, I'm a freshman. He probably got more credits than me.
Now, with people who once allegedly affiliated or associated with Gilbert Arenas,
that's what people don't understand.
He had a lawsuit. Behind the scenes,
school not important,
was brewing again.
But brains don't always
Gilbert was hit with a federal civil lawsuit. The location is Encino Mansion.
Hey, techies, come spend the day with
Encino Mansion, which happens to be the same location he allegedly hosted Gil's Arena. The details were vague, but the lawsuit requested $150 million in damages. That mansion, the one Gilbert Arenas claimed he simply rented out, was at the center, but the same one that was raided by the feds. But I want to hold fast. I end up looking up that lawsuit on Pacer, and let's go over the details. Now, the person who sued him was Reuben Byrne. Strangely enough, he put a P.O. box as his address in Imperial, California. And this man's slick, fam. Remember, the feds say he was allegedly associated with the mob. As his zip code, he put one, crossed it out, and put another 3 numbers, as if though he don't really want you to be able to get in contact with him. And strangely enough, Gil was sued for an alleged incident that happened 8 years ago in 2017. The plaintiff had claimed forgery. And at this point, I don't know if Gil written units out, because he claims that the address that this happened at was the same address he put as his address, just with a P.O. box 211 for his personal information. In 2024, the plaintiff claimed he rented out 19W 8 Gate Road from Gilbert Arenas back in February of 2017. An hour and a half later, he raised rent $100 without tenants' agreement and excused their handwriting or therefore process. Fence of more than a half a yard, violating tenants' privacy, coming over average of 2 times a month. He said he raised the rent, Gilbert Arenas that is, because of the water. But say lease/rentals contract owners pays for the water. Landlord Gilbert Arenas got my signature from somewhere and posted it on the back page and took Reuben Byrne off the rental agreement. The landlord wrote my wife's name, himself. Past 6 years, I've been paying $700. Note, $600 was the original agreement. Now he's evicting me with illegal documentation and poisons one of my daughter's pets, Turkey. Now, by the looks of it, this person didn't have an attorney when doing this lawsuit. But strangely enough, on June 25th, 2025, this case was dismissed because the plaintiff failed to articulate either federal question or diversity jurisdiction. The court grants defendant's motion to dismiss. And at that point, as always, the clerk of court is directed to close this case, in which they did. But ironically enough, the month after, Gilbert Arenas would get arrested by the feds for a probe at that same home. And if we being real, if Gil only charging somebody $600 to $700, he doing them a favor. With Rory motions, probe a jealous individuals to go to the feds about information they think they know. Then come July 30th, 2025, Gilbert Arenas and 5 others were arrested. The charge, running an illegal gambling operation. The feds say it wasn't just poker. It was a full-fledged underground casino with massage girls, private chefs, armed security, and thousands in cash. The games, Pot Limit Omaha. The location, the the same mansion in Chino.
I bet them hoes showing them yitties.
Jeannie Greshamman, 49 years old,
Going
a.k.a.
crazy.
Gore of Woodland Hills, a suspected organized crime figure from Israel. Evgeny Cherkashiki, 48 years old, a.k.a. Eugene of Tanzania. Island, Austria, 52 years old, a.k.a. Alicia of West Hills. Urine Cohen, 27 years old, a.k.a. YC of Tanzania. And Livin Knoccin, 43 years old of Tanzania. And if we've been real, Gilbert Arenas has to be only affiliated by solely someone just renting out that home. But you could tell this is someone who allegedly know Gil from the outside looking in.
He put the money on behind it.
Because TMZ allegedly
yeah,
had
man,
a
that's
picture
what
of
I'm
Gil's
saying, man.
poker table.
It seems smart.
Didn't rent out that location.
But you can't have your name on none of this shit. You can't have your name on none of this shit to where it can even run back to your
And
ass.
it's sad because this is where it gets dangerous.
You get what I'm saying?
Suspected organized crime.
You can't have none of it run back to you, to your legal name. None of it.
Also
you gotta let somebody else
of a young mom who
own the shit, but at the same time, they gotta have it signed to you in some type of other illegal agreement between y'all two motherfuckers. But for the public, it's gonna be them owning the shit.
She went to a local apartment complex to go to the illegal poker gambling spot.
Because if they run back to you,
check out some surveillance footage.
they gonna know it's
Shortly
you.
after, the victim, who's identified as Heidi Plank, 38 years old, had vanished on October 17, 2021.
And we probably gotta get a person who put their name on it more than a big cut, because they got their name on it.
So close family knew that she was at that location. Months later, authorities confirmed she was deceased after looking at a landfill for her remains. And now, you got this situation, strangely enough, connected to Gil.
Oh, and today investigators were out searching a landfill near Castaic, and they now believe that the West Los Angeles mother is dead. NBC4's I-Team was first to report a major break in this case, and joining us now, as you can see, is our investigative reporter, Eric Leonard, with what happened today. Eric?
Hi, Chuck. Dozens of LAPD officers and other investigators started a search for Heidi Plank's remains at this landfill this morning, and they've been focusing on a few specific areas. But the mystery here is far from over. Police tell us some sort of incident inside an apartment building in downtown LA caused Heidi Plank's death, but so far, no sign of her and no explanation from investigators as to what that incident may have been. This was the scene at dawn at the Chiquita Canyon landfill. Numerous investigators preparing for what could be a week-long search for a missing mom. Detectives from the LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division putting on protective suits and boots to sift through potentially tons of trash by hand, searching for signs of Heidi Plank's body or other key evidence in the case. The city of LA brought in heavy excavators to dig in the places where trash from that downtown apartment building was transported. The LAPD now confirming forensic evidence found at the apartment building in downtown LA where Plank was last seen several weeks ago and where her dog was found soon after was a key clue that led to the landfill and the conclusion that Heidi Plank died probably the same day she disappeared.
And we need some answers. But we know for sure that there are some people that are not coming forward that know the truth.
Plank's ex-husband pleaded today directly to a group of 4 or 5 people who he says knows exactly what happened, how she died. Plank was last seen near that apartment building at 12th and Hope Streets on October 17th. Security video from her home shows her leaving with her dog earlier the same day. Plank's Range Rover SUV was found by police weeks ago in an underground parking lot near the building. Today, search dogs were brought to the landfill search site with the hopes their specially trained noses could lead detectives to clues that could unravel the case that has Plank's family and friends desperate for answers.
We need somebody to step
this
forward
being black, man.
and please fill in some of the blanks.
Man.
Now, Plank's ex-husband says he's been caring for the couple's 11-year-old son and says through all of this, the family has been through a really rough time, and so has the family's network of friends who've been helping up to date into the search for Heidi Plank. He's now urging any of those key witnesses to come forward to call the LAPD with this information. He says his son just needs to know what happened. Reporting live, I'm investigative reporter.
So now we got a backstory on at least one of the defendants, the guy who the feds say is an alleged mobster. When it came to Gil's indictment, it was returned July 15th, and it was unsealed today. From September 2021 to July 2022, Gilbert and the other defendants operated an illegal gambling business. Arenas rented out an Chino mansion he owned for the purpose of hosting high-stakes illegal poker games. At Arenas' directions, Arthur Katz 51 of West Hollywood staged the mansion to host the games, found co-conspirators to host the games, and collected rent from the co-conspirators on Arenas' behalf. And then go on to say that the other 4 individuals, or co-defendants, had managed illegal
I wanted to hear what he got. He get the big bag.
Illegal games at the Chino mansion, collected a rake, which is a fee the house charged from each pot, either as a percentage or a fixed amount per hand, and invited players to compete. The guy Gresham hired young women who, in exchange for tips, served drinks, provided massages, and offered companionship to the poker players. The women were charged a tax, a percentage of their earnings from working the games. Chefs, valets, and armed security guards were also hired to staff these illegal poker games.
Somebody was most definitely snitching, but something tell me I bet the police already knew about it. You know what I'm saying? They just want they cut. You get what I'm saying? Like, y'all gotta understand, these feds are fucking dumber and dirty. Bitch ass.
Conspiracy to commit marriage fraud and making a false statement on immigration documents. In early 2022, Gresham conspired with Kokopari to enter into a sham marriage for the purpose of obtaining permanent legal status in the United States and lied to immigration authorities to procure legal status for Gresham, who provided financial support in exchange for her participation in this sham marriage. Now, I know that was a lot, but it's safe to say Gilbert Arenas has just rented the place out. Whether he knew about the illegal funding, I'm not sure. And my guess is he'll probably tell you no too. He did post a $50,000 bond 24 hours later after he was arrested. He posted the walk down the steps to his Instagram account with the following caption: "I'm back on the block like it's hot. This ain't got shit to do with me. Just rented the house. Wasn't a part of the festivities. Snitching Gil coming soon. 51-0, the Mayweather of the court." Well, Gil pretty much told us how he feel and what he plan on doing too. Now, as we wrap up, we do want to say once again, rest in peace to that victim and love and condolences to the family.
That
I
nigga
pray they get some form of closure soon. It's going on 4 years. But fam, if there's one lesson in this, you don't always have to be the mastermind to be in the middle of some mess. You can just be the name on the lease, the guy who trying to make some side money, the man who thought, if I'm not there, I'm not the problem. But the truth is, all it takes is the wrong people in your space.
All it takes is your signature and motherfucking your name behind that bitch.
Stay sharp, because in this world, you're guilty by association. And that's a real thing. Sending prayers to Gil. Hopefully he can make it out of this and learn from this, like anything else God put in his way, to be the man he's destined to be. I want to send prayers to anyone else who was affected by the story we just talked about. But fam, it's time for y'all to let me know, based on the details I just presented, how y'all feel about this one. Talk to me in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys on the next one.
Welcome. Shout out to Mem Leaks. This gonna break the shit that's going down with the Gilbert Arenas suit down more.
Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're into high-profile cases, or you're just curious how a poker game turned federal, you're in the right place. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, drop a comment to let me know where you're watching from. On July 15th, 2025, a federal grand jury indicted several in a case that blends underground poker, immigration fraud, and a familiar name, former NBA All-Star Gilbert Arenas, aka Agent Zero. Prosecutors say Arenas rented his mansion for high-stakes games with valet, chefs, armed guard, and women to serve drinks, give massages, and allegedly
you think about
co-conspirators were also charged with crimes related to illegal gambling, including Israeli national Yevgeny Gershman, a suspected high-level member of an Israeli organized crime ring. He faces 3 additional counts related to immigration and marriage fraud. Arenas was arrested July 30th, posted a $50,000 bond, and hasn't really been quiet since, telling the world, quote, "I'm snitching" on a recent live stream. Quite the bold statement, especially with a suspected organized crime member in the mix. Gershman and the others were also taken into custody. All have pled not guilty and were released on bond. Next up, the allegations, charges, and the systems they allegedly exploited. Let's dive in. This case, filed in the United States District Court for the Central District of California, stems from a July 2025 jury indictment. The matter is titled The United States of America versus Yevgeny Gershman, also known as Georgia, Evgeny Turevsky, also known as Eugene, Alan Austria, also called Elika, Yarin Cohen, also known as YC, Arthur Katz, Gilbert Arenas, also known as Agent Zero, Yevgen Krochun, and Valentina Kojokari. The defendants are charged across 7 counts, including conspiracy, operating an illegal gambling business, making false statements, marriage fraud, and immigration-related false statements. The indictment seeks criminal forfeiture as well. Count 1 is conspiracy and names all defendants other than Kojokari. A. Object of the conspiracy. Beginning no later than or about September 12, 2021, continuing through at least on or about July 20th, 2022, in Los Angeles County within the Central District of California and elsewhere. Defendants knowingly conspired with each other and with others known and unknown to the grand jury to operate an illegal gambling business. B. Matter and means of the conspiracy. The object of the conspiracy was to be accomplished in substance as follows. A. Defendant Arenas would rent out a residence located on Gable Drive in Encino, California, the Gable House, for the purpose of hosting illegal poker games. B. Defendant Katz, at Defendant Arenas' direction, would stage the Gable House to host illegal poker games, find co-conspirators to host illegal poker games at the Gable House, and collect rent from co-conspirators on Defendant Arenas' behalf. C. Defendants Gershman, Turevsky, Austria, and Cohen, and others known and unknown to the grand jury, would make illegal Pro Limit Omaha, PLO, poker games, among other illegal gambling games, at the Gable House. D. To profit from the illegal gambling operations, defendants Gershman, Turevsky, Austria, and Cohen would collect a rake, that is, a fee the House would charge from each pot either as a percentage or a fixed amount per hand. E. Defendants Gershman, Turevsky, Austria, and Cohen would invite players to illegal poker games at the Gable House.
This shit can only last for so
Gershman
long,
would hire
you know
young
what I'm saying, as
women
far as
who,
like
in exchange for
gambling,
tips, would serve drinks,
anyway.
provide massages, and offer companionship to players at the Gable House. G. Defendants Gershman, Turevsky, Austria, and Cohen would charge the woman a tax, that is, a percentage of the woman's earnings from working the games. H. These same defendants would hire chefs, valet, and army security for illegal poker games at the Gable House. I. Defendant Krochun would work as a chip runner at the illegal poker games held at the Gable House, in which capacity he would track players' winnings and losses, distribute poker chips to players, and pay employees. C. Overt acts. On or about the following dates, in furtherance of the conspiracy and to accomplish its object, defendants Gershman, Turevsky, Austria, Cohen, Katz, Arenas, and Krochun, and others known and unknown to the grand jury, committed the following overt acts, among others, in the Central District of California. In 2021, defendant Arenas and Katz agreed to use the Gable House for illegal poker games. And now we'll go into the overt acts. So, overt act number 1. On September 12, 2021, defendant Katz texted defendant Arenas to ask whether he was, quote, still planning on doing your own game, to which defendant Arenas replied, quote, I might throw PLO games at my house, referring to hosting illegal poker games at the Gable House. Overt act number 2. On October 8, 2021, defendant Arenas texted defendant Katz the date the Gable House would be available to host illegal poker games, the amount of rent defendant Arenas wanted to charge for hosting the games, and the number of games he planned on hosting per week. Number 3. On October 26, 2021, while discussing staging the Gable House to host illegal poker games, defendant Katz texted defendant Arenas a picture of a poker table with the words "The Lion's Den" printed on top of the table. Number 4. On November 10, 2021, defendant Arenas texted defendant Katz a picture of a gold-trimmed poker table with the words "Arenas Poker Club" printed on top of the table,
bitch,
and the image of a basketball player with a jersey labeled Arenas wearing the number 0. On November 23rd, defendant Arenas owed defendant Katz $14,000 for tables and chairs as a startup expense for hosting illegal poker games at the Gable House. On December 23rd, defendant Arenas texted Katz that he had $14,000 for him. On December 28th, defendant Arenas texted defendant Katz that he wanted to rake from an illegal poker game hosted at the Gable House for defendant Arenas' birthday to go to the mother of a deceased former lover. Defendants Arenas and Katz rented the Gable House to defendants Gershman, Tarevsky, Cohen, and Austria for them to hold illegal poker games. On January 31st, 2022, defendant Katz texted Arenas that defendant Tarevsky was ready to host illegal poker games at the Gable House on Wednesdays. On February 8th, Katz texted Arenas that he had spoken with Tarevsky and that Tarevsky and his partners were ready to start hosting the illegal poker games at the Gable House on the following Wednesday. On February 16th, Gershman sent various phone contacts a text advertising the illegal poker game at the Gable House that was starting that night. It said, "Tonight, new place, PLO, starts 8 o'clock, starts 8 p.m. with a bunch of emojis." On February 16th, Tarevsky sent Cohen a text message advertising the illegal poker game and asked Cohen to send players to the game. On February 16th, Katz texted Tarevsky the gate code to the Gable House. On February 17th, defendant Tarevsky texted Cohen a pay-o sheet showing the amount of the rate, the tax charged, and the expenses incurred to host the illegal poker game, and listed the illegal poker game's partners as YC, referring to defendant Cohen, Elika, referring to Austria, Georgia, referring to Gershman, and Eugene, referring to Tarevsky. On February 23rd, Tarevsky sent Gershman a text message asking whether they were going to host the game at the Gable House that night. On February 23rd, Tarevsky texted Katz that their game that night was canceled, to which Katz replied, "What am I supposed to tell Gilbert, that you canceled the game 4 hours before?" On the 23rd as well, Katz texted Arenas that Tarevsky would not be hosting an illegal poker game at the Gable House that night. On March 7th, 2022, Tarevsky texted Katz asking to move the illegal poker game at the Gable House from Wednesday nights to Tuesday nights. On April 13th, in response to a question whether he would be attending the game that evening, Austria replied, "What kind of question is that? It's my game." On June 8th, Cohen texted Gershman a pay-o sheet showing the amount of the rake, players' winnings and losses, and amounts due to defendants Gershman, Tarevsky, Cohen, and Austria. On June 8th, Cohen texted Gershman, quote, "Balance still for next week, rake and game, 6,400. Defendant Gershman recruited staff to work at the Gable House. On February 16th, Gershman sent text messages to women inviting them in coded language to work at the illegal poker game at the Gable House that night. On May 24th, Gershman sent text messages to a woman asking her, in coded language, whether she was open to engaging in prostitution at the game. On June 28th, Gershman sent text messages to a woman inviting her, in coded language, to work at the game at the house that night and explaining, in coded language, that he charged women 25 to 35% of their earnings from working their illegal poker game. Defendant Tarevsky hired
to be working at that bitch, they gotta pay him like 30% of what they get.
Gershman sent Cohen a voice note telling Cohen that Tarevsky hired a poker dealers
it's a
for
good
the illegal
setup,
poker
but
games
it's
at
like,
the Gable House.
if you ain't got no job and you want to get your name out here and people get your name,
Tarevsky texted
anything
a
can turn
phone
to anything.
contact
You dig what I'm
named
saying?
Frankie
Crip.
Poker Dealer
But
that the contact could work
anything
at
can
the
happen.
poker
Crip.
game that next day. On July 16th, Tarevsky confirmed with a phone contact named Dealer Poker that the contact was working at the illegal poker game at the Gable House the next Tuesday. Boy, they have a lot of overt acts, don't they? This is going to be a tough one for the defendants, I feel like. Moving on, Defendant Knoccin was a chip runner at the Gable House. Defendant Knoccin was a chip runner at the Gable House. On June 8th, 2022, Knoccin texted Gershman, "Hi, where should I bring the money and when?" That same night, Knoccin texted Gershman a sheet showing unpaid tips owed to the working women from the night prior. On June 22nd, Knoccin texted 2 pay-o sheets to defendant Terevsky showing different rake amounts. On July 13th, Knoccin texted Terevsky a pay-o sheet for the prior night's game showing the rake amount. Defendant Austria recruited armed security for the Gable House. On February 21st, 2022, Austria recruited CA to work as armed security at the illegal poker games at the Gable House. On March 2nd, Austria texted CA the address to the Gable House. On June 14th, Austria hired CA to provide armed security at the game at the Gable House, hosted by Gershman, Terevsky, Austria, and Cohen. On July 12th, Austria hired CA to provide armed security at the house, hosted by the same defendants. On July 12th, 2022, Austria caused CA, an employee, to send a picture of a game in progress at the Gable House. Defendant Arenas monitored the illegal gambling at the Gable House. On February 25th, 2022, Arenas sent Katz a text message asking Katz how much rent he collected as payment for hosting illegal poker games at the Gable House. On March 16th, in a group chat with defendant Katz and 2 others, Arenas complained that, quote, players and girls come high or drunk already at the Gable House. On April 1st, 2022, Arenas texted Katz to ask whether Katz was going to pay him rent. On April 17th, Arenas texted Katz, quote, I have an idea that might bring in new players for you. I'm going to do a YouTube episode of me at the game, but blur out players and girls that don't want to be seen for my channel. On April 20th, Arenas sent Katz a text message asking Katz whether he had anyone who could host poker games at the Gable House on Mondays. On May 18th, Arenas sent Katz a text message directing him to find a new host for illegal poker games at the Gable House on Wednesdays. On July 8th, Arenas demanded rent payments for the illegal poker games at the Gable House from Katz. Operation of an illegal poker game at the Gable House on July 19th and 20th, 2022. On the late evening of July 19th and early morning of July 20th, defendants Gershman, Terevsky, Katz, Cohen, Austria, and Knoccin operated a game at the Gable House, illegally of course, which included approximately 26 players and over a dozen staff working the game. On July 19th, Knoccin worked as chip runner. Count 1 is the lead charge in this indictment, and it attempts to establish conspiracy liability, and it sets the groundwork for counts 2 through 7. Count 2, to summarize, alleges a broad conspiracy involving the same defendants as count 1 from at least February 2022, continuing through at least July 20th, 2022 in LA County and elsewhere. Defendants, along with others known and unknown, aided, abetted one another in operating and financing an illegal gambling business. The operation involved at least 5 individuals,
so they really had a
continuously
ring
for
set
over
up,
30
you know what I'm
days,
saying?
and generated more than $2,000 in a
workers,
single day, violating California's gambling law, thereby triggering the
people
federal
gonna run the
statute
shit.
noted above. Count 3, making a false statement to a federal agency, is against defendant Arenas. On or about September 9th, 2022, in LA County, Arenas submitted a petition seeking the return of funds seized by Homeland Security investigations on July 20th from the master bedroom of the Gable House residence. In that petition, filed in a matter within the jurisdiction of the executive branch, specifically the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Arenas knowingly made a materially false statement when he claimed he was not involved in, quote, whatever was going on at the party, referring to the illegal gambling at the Gable House on July 19th, 2022. In truth, Arenas had knowingly provided gambling equipment used to host an illegal poker game on the date mentioned, had rented out the Gable House for that purpose, and was collecting rent from the hosts for operating the illegal game. Count 4, conspiracy to commit marriage fraud, is against defendants Gershman and Kochakari. Object of the conspiracy, beginning no later than February 4th, 2022, and continuing to the present in LA County and elsewhere. The two defendants knowingly conspired with each other and with others to commit marriage fraud. Manner and means of the conspiracy. The object was to be carried out in substance as follows. Gershman,
I don't know what type of shit they're gonna try to hit
citizen
this
of
nigga
Israel
with.
and
But he
therefore
said
an
he
alien
getting
in
it
the
up.
U.S., would enter into a sham marriage with
Yeah,
Koji
holy
Kari,
shit,
a
bitch.
U.S. citizen, to procure an adjustment of immigration status for Gershman. Gershman would provide financial support to Koji Kari in exchange for her participation in the sham marriage. Gershman and Koji Kari would file documentation with the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services to demonstrate the validity of their sham marriage, including staged photographs of the wedding ceremony, photographs of the two of them with friends and family. Gershman and Koji Kari would submit sworn immigration forms containing false statements to the Citizenship and Immigration Services in support of the adjustment of immigration status for Gershman. They would make verbal and written false statements under penalty of perjury to the department about living together and establishing a life together. Overt acts on or about the following dates in furtherance of the conspiracy and to accomplish its object. Gershman and Koji Kari, with others known and unknown, committed the following overt acts in the Central District of California. On February 4th, 2022, Gershman texted Koji Kari, "What time and where should I pick you up?" To which Koji Kari replied at 3, and later texted Gershman her address on Glade Avenue in Woodland Hills, California. On February 4th, same day, Gershman married defendant Koji Kari. On March 14th, Gershman sent Koji Kari a check for $1,553. That's it. On April 8th, Gershman signed an application to register permanent residence or adjust status form that contained the following false statements he knew were false at the time. That Gershman resided as a resident at Glade Avenue in Woodland Hills since January 5th, 2022. That Gershman had never been arrested, cited, charged, or detained for any reason by law enforcement, and that Gershman did not intend to engage in illegal gambling. On April 8th, Koji Kari signed a petition for alien relative that contained the following false statement she knew was false at the time, that he lived with her at her house on Glade Avenue in Woodland Hills since January 5th, 2022. On April 14th, defendant Gershman caused the fraudulent application to register permanent residence or adjust status that he had signed to be sent to USCIS. On the same day, Koji Kari caused the fraudulent petition for alien relative that she had signed to be sent to USCIS. On September 28th, Gershman and Koji Kari participated in a sworn interview with USCIS at which they made false statements to USCIS that they knew were false at the time, including that they resided together at the residence since their wedding day and that they awoke at the residence together that morning of the interview. 4 was the agreement and plan itself, and count 5 is for the actual act of entering into a fraudulent marriage, and it's against Gershman, Israeli citizen, and Koji Kari, a U.S. citizen. In L.A., on or about February 4th, 2022, the two knowingly and unlawfully entered into a marriage, not with the intention of building a life together, but for the purpose of evading U.S. immigration law. Count 6, false statements in an immigration application against Gershman. On or about April 8th, 2022, in LA and elsewhere, Gershman knowingly made false statements under penalty of perjury in documents submitted to the U.S.
So it's just,
CIS,
like I said, it's not
and Immigration
just
Services.
one thing.
A, falsely claimed
It's a
to
whole
have lived
bunch of
at a
bullshit
residence
that's
on
mixed
Glade
up
Avenue
into this
since
shit.
January 5th,
That I guess
when
gonna
he had
turn this
not.
shit into like a
B,
Rico.
he falsely answered no when he was asked if he had ever been arrested or detained, despite having been detained by U.S. law enforcement on January 27th, 2022. C, Gershman falsely denied any intent to engage in illegal gambling, stating no, despite knowing he planned to do so. These statements were material and knowingly submitted to evade immigration laws. Count 7, false statement in an immigration petition is against Koji Kari for knowingly making a false statement under penalty of perjury in a petition for an alien relative submitted to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services on April 8th in 2022 in LA County and elsewhere. Defendant falsely claimed that Gershman had lived with her at the residence on Glade Avenue in Woodland Hills since January 5th and knew he had not resided there during that time. Forfeiture allegations, which there are 3, but I unified them for clarity. If convicted of the offenses charged in counts 1, 2, 6, or 7, each defendant shall forfeit to the United States any property, real or personal, derived from or traceable to the proceeds of the offense, any property used to commit or facilitate the offense, any conveyance, including vehicles, vessels, or aircraft, used in the commission of immigration-related offenses. If the specified property is unavailable, the government may seek a money judgment equal to its value. Substitute assets may also be forfeited if the original property was transferred, concealed, diminished, or commingled beyond recovery. And this was signed by the grand jury foreperson. That's where things stand with the next known hearing scheduled for September, that being Arenas' trial. I'll keep track of the case and what unfolds next. If you enjoyed this video, support the channel and like.
And y'all see from the video and how it broke down the lawsuit or the indictment. The body thing, I don't know. Like, first you churn, next day you gone, bitch. You feel what I'm saying? This world we live in, man, anything can happen, bro. I'm just being honest, bro. And it's like, damn, you think you know these people, you don't even know these people, but damn, you just learn how to find about these people, man. Like, they got a whole new life. They had a whole life, a whole complicated, twisted, weird, to the T type shit. You know, you get what I'm saying? Like, bro, you ain't ever heard of these motherfuckers. And now today, you know everything about these motherfuckers. These niggas, you know almost everything. They got every little tweaky little thing about these motherfuckers. Learn these niggas' lives actually pretty interesting. Nigga never heard about these. Shit crazy. And that's how life is, bro. For real. Crip. But all in all, man, like I said, bro, Gilbert Arena, man, he said he gonna yap. I don't know. Like, Gilbert Arena not hood. Like, he just a nigga who like came up. Like, I mean, he to be from the hood and don't do no hood shit, you know. So I just hope like it don't go too damn federal, because the gambling and shit, man, and then the body, a lot of shit can hit federal like numbers, 20 years type shit. So I just hope it just go good and, you know, nigga escape. So hey, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Let me know how y'all feel about it, man. Make sure you like and subscribe. Free them niggas. You know what I'm saying? I hope nobody get locked up on some goofy ass shit. We have to be chilling outside, big gang shit, outside.
Hey, Dad, you know, dog, when we link up, dog, this shit be legendary. Even though this is instrumental, you the engineer on it, so Kodak everywhere.